Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new r/malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called All Expenses Paid Vacation. Ages ago I was the senior developer for a company that revitalized other companies. Think of it as a sort of mini Shark Tank. We would find small businesses that had a great idea but were struggling, and we would help them achieve their goals in exchange for a cut. Sometimes this meant providing development or engineering talent to get a product off the ground. Sometimes it meant providing literal capital. Sometimes it meant providing staffing services. Support staff and experienced executives were commonplace needs. We were also a relatively small company, so it wasn't uncommon for our people to have multiple hats. There was one time when I was working as development lead for one client while acting as interim CTO for another client. It could be a bit chaotic, but it paid pretty well, was a great experience in a wide variety of things I normally wouldn't have had, and was usually pretty fun. So one Friday afternoon we got a call from a client who was particularly frustrating, a frequent flyer if you will. They seemed to make every 30-second fix into an insurmountable problem. I'm going to be intentionally vague about the specific industry the client was in. It's a tiny industry and anyone in the industry would be able to identify them just from the industry and city. This particular call comes in early in the afternoon. They recently moved things around and now none of their printers work. Obviously it's mission critical. We do some remote troubleshooting but can't even get a flicker of light from the device. We spent an hour or so trying to work through what happened before discovering that there's a really good reason it won't work. The cable didn't reach where they moved it to, so it wasn't actually plugged in. Well, that's about as stereotypical as an IT problem can get, right? Just plug it in and you'll be good to go. But management says that's not the solution they want. While it's totally possible to run a Cat5 line to the new location, they really want it wireless, since that's the big thing these days. Okay, that's easy too. Most of our comparably sized clients had switched to wireless networking for parts of their offices, so we already had the right procedures in place, deployment scripts set up, etc. All they had to do was plug in the device, which could be very easily acquired at any electronics store, and we could remotely handle everything else in a matter of minutes. But nope, management dictates that we absolutely have to have a person on site in the morning to send it up for them. At this point it's very late afternoon on a Friday, and everyone but me and my boss, the CEO, had gone home for the day. Boss isn't about to lose his weekend and grab roads downhill, so I drew the short straw. We reached out to the client to make sure that they knew what they were asking. They were in Chicago. We were several states away in the Midwest, and it was nearing the end of the day on a Friday. If they wanted me to be there by morning, they'd have to pony up for whatever flight we could arrange at short notice. And there was only one flight left that night, going from our relatively small airport to Chicago, and the only available seat was in first class. Additionally, it would be taking off in just under 2 hours, meaning I wouldn't have time to get home and pack anything if I was going to make the flight. They reiterated that it was absolutely crucial that I be there in the morning, and they would happily pay for whatever flight was necessary. Additionally, I was told that they would have a room pre-booked at the Palmer House. They regularly used the room there for VIPs and such, and I could charge whatever I needed to the room. Further, they said that if I ended up needing to stay longer than the day, they'd reimburse me for any clothing or essentials I had to purchase, since it was so incredibly last minute. Okay, I can live with that. I get to the airport 10 minutes before boarding, make it through the vacant airport, past the TSA checkpoint, and to my gate as they are closing the door. I was literally the last person on the last flight of the day. I arrive in Chicago, and shockingly there is a company car, effectively a limo, black car service before Uber was a thing, waiting for me. He takes me to the hotel as promised and hands me an envelope before pulling away from the curb. The envelope contains a prepaid debit card and a note saying it has $250 on it for incidentals, but please charge anything I can to the room. Sweet. Was expecting it to be a long weekend in grungy clothes. Checked in and went to bed. The next morning I show up at their office bright and early. I sit around for half of the morning before anyone shows up to let me in. They then show me the new printer area, which is, as expected, well outside of the area of the office, which was originally wired for networking and what was once a break area. I go, yep, that's not gonna work with your old wired hub, and run across the street. Literally. Door to door was 1 street apart to the closest electronics store. I pick up their shiny new wireless router, run back to their office, plug it in and then get on the closest computer. I run through the 30-second setup and run the script that updates the configs for their quirky, antiquated software so it picks up the new printers in the office. And then I tell the owner that it's all set up. He gets this sort of confused look on his face and says, "Already?" I respond by pointing out that we did tell them in advance that we could do it remotely if they were willing to actually plug the device in for us. And he finally realizes how silly the callout was, but now he feels obligated to save face. I'm instructed that I'm to remain in Chicago until the close of business Monday to ensure there are no issues with the new hardware under actual use. Obviously, it would be fiscally irresponsible to fly me out twice in a week. I ask for clarification. They are instructing me to stay checked into their fairly expensive hotel and keep billing things to my room through Monday night? Yes. What am I supposed to do with the rest of the weekend? Is there anything else at the local office that I can fix while I'm here? No. Go eat a hot dog and play tourist. Just keep my phone handy and make sure I show up at the opening time on Monday. Okay, I can do that. I go back across the street, pick up a charger for my phone, find a nearby department store and pick up a few changes of cheap clothes. Then I stop by the hotel to drop off my purchases and spend the rest of the weekend playing tourist. I did a tiny bit of sightseeing and spent most of the time catching up on sleep. But I did ensure to avail myself of room service for every single meal at their expense before showing up bright and early Monday morning. I sat in their office for the majority of the workday before the owner came and found me to give me the travel details for my return flight. He even suggested that I'd done a great job. Really, I didn't do anything but plug a device in, and should get a drink before heading to the airport and bill it to the room. As suggested, I went back to the hotel, picked my stuff in my laptop bag, stopped in the bar for a drink. Who knew hotels had $100+ drinks? And headed to the airport. All told, they shelled out about $1,000 just for the room. Probably 2/3 of that in room service fees. Several hundred in transportation to and from the airport, not to mention the flights. All because they didn't want to walk across the street, pick up the easily obtainable piece of hardware and plug it in. I got a 3.5-day vacation with first class travel. One way anyway. Halfway across the country for doing just that. The next story is called Not in High School Anymore. Several years ago, I mistakenly convinced a friend to sign up for an online creative writing workshop, specifically world building for fiction. We'd taken workshops through this place before, but this one was new, a guest lecturer. Well, the instructor just took the lessons that he taught in person to high school freshmen, age 14-ish, and didn't adapt them at all to an online format, nor to teaching adults. His "we do things my way around here" attitude was so bad that 3 or 4 of the other participants stopped showing up. I've been in plenty of workshops before and since with them, and they never quit workshops. Anyway, the world I was building featured an island chain so isolated that the people who lived there believed they were the only humans in the world. There was a little magic going on too. It wasn't as boring as I make it seem, but that's not really relevant. My friend was writing stories about a generation ship headed out to a distant galaxy. For the last assignment, after I'm already well and tired of his patronizing attitude, he decides we need to write a story where a stranger comes to town. I emailed him. There are no strangers here, nor does my friend have that option. The instructor replied rather brusquely that he expects us to follow the assignment to the letter. Again, we are adults. There are no grades here. There's no rubric to tick off. Whatever. Fine. You want a stranger here amongst the people who think there are no other humans? Fine. The assignment said we had to write it from the point of view of the stranger who comes to town. So I sent in a shipwrecked guy, and I even had the natives be nice and not decide to kill him right away. But from the point of view of the shipwrecked guy, he can't understand a word of their language. The instructor got a 4,000-word story from me. It was filled with incomprehensible dialogue in a made-up language as the natives discuss in front of him what to do with him and what his existence means to their philosophy. All the teacher could do was a comment on my rich use of scenery to tell a tale. I still take online workshops there. All his classes always have spots available, even after the first day. The other instructors have wait lists. The last story is called Bad Wording. So, my high school sits back away from a highway, and the parking lot stays open for about 1.5 hours before and after school. There's an administrator at the school whose job is to stay in the parking lot and walk the cars to make sure nobody's doing anything wrong, since it's a large school with a huge parking lot. Many people I know have complained about him, but he has never given me a hard time. When you turn off of the highway, there's a straight road driving up to where the parking lot entrance is. People typically go relatively fast through it. However, some people go crawling slow. Now the road is 2 lanes, with the left lane going to the bottom of the parking lot and the right to the top. One day I was coming in, like I always do, about 15 miles per hour. Of course there's a sophomore who fresh got their license going 5 in the right lane, but I go to the bottom anyway, so I just drive past them and park. Just fine. As I get my backpack out of my trunk, the administrator walks up to me and starts talking. "You running late this morning?" "I guess so. Did the parking lot start closing earlier?" "Well, I just saw you passing cars on the way in." "No, I didn't. I just watched you pass a car." I finally understand what he's talking about. "Oh, we are not allowed to pass cars coming in?" "Sorry, won't do. You'll get a warning this time, but next time I'll take your plate and get your parking tag taken." Now this really ticked me, because I've been driving to school for 3 years and never had a problem with my speed, much less for passing. So we can't pass cars in here, even if they are going slow? You shouldn't be passing any moving vehicles. Bad wording. For the next few days I started going slow into the lot and took footage of people passing me. I took this to the admin to ask him what he'd do about it. He eventually admitted he didn't care, so I asked him why not now, and he didn't have an answer. On Friday of that week, one of my friend's car broke down on the road to the lot, so I told him my plan and got him on board with what I wanted to do. Typically, when broken down here, you roll your car to the lot in neutral and leave it in the lot till it's fixed, but I wasn't allowed to pass. I parked behind him and waited for friend number 2 to show up. They started pushing the car while I idled and rode right next to them. After about 5 minutes, the VP came up. He asked me what I was doing, and I told him I was following the rules that the admin made and he should go get him. The VP tells me to just go, but I insist on following the parking manager's rules. At this point 10 cars were lined up in either lane, getting angrier by the minute. The admin comes up with the VP and he immediately looks like he ate a scat sandwich. He tells me to just pass people as long as I drive safe. Other than odd looks, he never gave me a hard time again. But he still leaves extra warning notes on my car for petty things, such as parking too far over in my space or not having headlights on instead of running lights. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to the channel for more content. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.